Welcome to another edition of our National Assembly Weekly Update, The Maize. I am Rosemary UKOKO-TEGA. In the package, Citizens Town Hall on 2024 budget organized by the House and retreat on how to fund the budget by Senate. We also have budget defense sessions at both chambers with some MDAs and inaugural meetings of some standing committees. Watch The Maize live on DSTV 392, Star Times 127, Free TV 507 on the UHF band 38. Check out all editions of The Maize on our YouTube channel, ASO Radio and Television. Like our page and do subscribe.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
This is The Maize on ASO Television. Down to legislative business. The week started with a Citizens Town Hall on the 2024 budget. This is more like a promise kept, as the Speaker of the House, Mr. Tajuddin Abbas, had a week before this one announced the legislature would give Nigerians the platform to participate in the process leading to passage of the national budget. Here is how this session played out.
The fact that this Citizens Town Hall is happening barely a week after the presentation of the national budget, speaks to the fact that the Speaker is ready to expand, the civic space for broader citizens' engagement and participation in the budget and legislative process.
This town hall meeting is not only pivotal for the Nigerian emergent democracy, but also aim to strengthen the overall democratic structure by making the government process more transparent, participatory, and accountable. Thus, this town hall becomes a House of Representatives recognition of the importance of its relationship with the public and other critical stakeholders. Undoubtedly, this approach to the national budget and appropriation process will lead to a greater inclusivity, citizen participation, openness, and transparency. If followed through, it will also improve the budget performance and accountability.
Level century, in the British Parliament and the British monarch, there were crises with the Anglo-Saxon crisis, where the issue of budget provision became a crisis in the United Kingdom in the 11th to 14th century. They now came to a resolution that the power of the sword and power of the purse cannot be given to one person. to member. They now resolved that the power of the sword goes to the British monarch and the power of the purse goes to the parliament, which is National Assembly in this circumstance. So when we hear people saying paddy is an embarrassment language, and Nigerians, they like to blackmail. They went to town, they are padding budget, so no padding. What is padding? There's something like padding. The executive led by Mr. President, in that section 81, stated that the president will bring forth estimates. What we have now is estimates of 2024 provision budget. The National Assembly, in their hearts, will give the Nigerian public, will give the president, everybody, the budget of the federation. That is the difference.
The committee is determined to promote this laudable campaign, which explains why this engagement is organized to provide you with the opportunity of participation, making input, and telling the rest of Nigeria the new dimension of budget process, which is open for public scrutiny and value addition from stakeholders. It's imperative to inform the civil society organizations, CSOs, and other stakeholders here present of the committee's determination to uphold the principle of the 10th House of Representatives legislative agenda of ensuring effective and participatory budget process that guarantee efficient service delivery by the MDS.
This town hall provides a unique opportunity for all citizens to understand the details of the 2024 budget, engage in meaningful dialogue with their elected representatives, and provide valuable feedback, which is going to be the tool with which the National Assembly will leverage in making sure that these estimates will now become an act of Parliament when it becomes the Appropriation Act.
I consider today's meeting highly relevant to deepening democratic governance and strengthening public financial management. The town hall provides a platform for direct engagement between legislators and citizens, focusing on matters related to the national budget. This is crucial to enhancing the transparency of government spending. It also allows the public to be more informed about how public funds are to be used, and by so doing, build greater trust in government institutions. More importantly, however, this town hall will allow the National Assembly to understand citizens' needs better and explore ways to address them through the budgetary system. The relevance of this interface is best understood within the larger context of diminished public trust in government institutions in Nigeria and all over Africa.
The Policy and Legal Advocacy Center plaque, the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, as well as the partnership of Engage, Reform and Learn are supporters of the town hall. That session was jointly organized by the Office of the Speaker and Committee on Appropriation. A similar session held at the Senate, courtesy Joint Senate Committee of Appropriation and Finance. The retreat was to sensitize the MDAs on revenue generation to fund the 2024 budget. Let's have some take-home points from key speakers.
As we seek to not serve ourselves, but the interest of Nigeria as a whole, this interactive session is a unique opportunity for all well-meaning stakeholders to engage deeply with each other and contribute meaningfully towards shaping the economic trajectory for our great nation in the coming years. Our focus, however, must not only be on the unity of this proposal, but also their practical implementation nationwide. The essence of this deliberation today is more than just discussion on figures and allocation. It is about ensuring that every naira allocated is purposely directed towards the project and program that will improve the lives and aspirations of every Nigerian, guarantee our economic stability and growth, and overall build a better future for generations to come. To sensitize us on effective budgetary process, our resource person, a renowned economist, Professor UKOKO-TEGA, will set the template for further deliberation on how to deliver improved outcome in 2024 budget. Mr. Senate President, the leadership of the Senate, my dear colleague, honorable ministers, head of agencies and parastatals, the civil society organization, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, we strongly believe that the input, contribution, submission, and presentation that will be made here today will translate into a final report on the 2024 appropriation bill for consideration and envisage a passage by the National Assembly.
Let me state clearly that the National Assembly will not tolerate attitude from government functionaries, all MDAs in relation to issues surrounding their defenses of submissions and our resolve to maintain the January to December budget cycle. I mean attitudes that are not in consonance with our zeal to the passage of budget, so that we maintain that cycle, our budget cycle of January to December of every year. The consequences may not be palatable for the official of the agency in the eventual passage of the 2024 appropriation bill.
My message is very simple. Revenue drive, and revenue drive. We cannot achieve much unless all the revenue agencies rise to the occasion. But no matter how beautiful the budget is, if there's no money to spend, the budget will not work. So I think that's the main message that I have. Let's get up and go out there, plug the loopholes of leakages and wastages, and then bring more revenue so the 2024 budget will become realistic. I must also say that even from the action of the minister today, he has already answered a key question. Can we do it? Can we pass the budget in record time? The National Assembly, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, we are very determined. And then we want to make sure that we continue with the January to December budgetary cycle. But a lot depends on the ministers, the MDAs, and the revenue spenders. If you don't come on time to defend your estimates, there is no way we can pass the budget on time. But we are prepared to ensure we do that. And the chairman of appropriation, it will not be right to give them zero in the budget if you don't turn up. I think it's important rather that you report them to the coordinating minister and plead with him to try to bring them. So, Honourable Minister, we expect you to come as many times as possible. I'm not saying drag them, I'm saying bring them so that they can have something in the 2024 appropriation. Because the starting point of the success of any administration is budgeting. And the most important aspect is the revenue drive. We have to spend what we have. We cannot spend what we do not have. And I know that we will undertake proper oversight, not just from the National Assembly, but also from the civil society organizations. So I think this is the beginning of success. We have taken a step in the right direction, and God will guide us.
Now that we are talking about the first full-year budget of the administration, the first budget, not the first full year, we've done supplementary appropriation. This is our first budget. Then we have to move beyond those positive rhetorics. So rhetorics are very good, but the budget provides a test case how much of those good things that we are hearing will be done. So I make an issue of, the current proposals. How much do they connect? How much do they translating the right path that has been painted? How much are they translating them into budgetary realities? For example, to fund capital projects. And budget in the current state is still proposed, what are the windows of opportunity that we have in the engagements that we follow to try and raise the content in which we are not just, staying on rhetorics, in which we are actually now beginning to do what? To walk the talk. I know 1 month that we have for the revision is too little, but the point is, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with master. So what we need to create a deal room, investment facilitation room, or investment acceleration room, where government will de-risk specific projects. And then, as the third way, foreign investors, domestic direct investors can come as on the deal consummation end. So you need to create an environment, not in which one agency of government takes the burden of managing the projects that we want to offer investors. Each agency of government should know, should understand the protocols for originating the deal. It's their deal. And then the role of government is to facilitate that process, to accelerate the process, to reassure investors that risks will be mitigated, and investors can begin to consummate the deals. And then we can begin to count the deals. Oh, we just counted, cross-border M&A deals. Oh, we just counted greenfield FDI arrival deals. Oh, we just counted PPP deals. And the more deals you count, the more resources you have available to ensure that the projected outcomes meets the desires of the government and of the people of Nigeria. So I know that the budget that we proposed has the potential to renew our hope. And these few remarks, suggestions made by was there that we can make the assurance that our hope will be renewed, doubly sure. I thank you very much.
Everyone should be happy in respect of our performance in terms of our revenue target for 2023. I want to say here, I'm the happiest. I say so because what we have as our revenue target for 2023 was a product of collaboration between the executive and the legislature. When the executive in 2023 or 2022 brought forward his proposal in terms of revenue projection for 2023, the figure was less than what we have as a target. But our committee on finance did a very, very good work and was able to bring forward several items of revenue. And there was argument back and forth with the Minister of Finance that there were not revenue that could be actualized. But later we agreed, both oil and non-oil revenues. And we agreed, to increase the revenue substantially. And now we are able to realize that revenue. So I'm very, very happy, because then there was some cloud of doubt as to how we could realize that the target. So one can see, because we've been saying it all the time, that the budgetary process is a collaborative process. A process that's built on dialogue and understanding, on negotiation. Now, if we had not given the room for negotiation in terms of the revenue projection at that time, the nation would have suffered, because these revenues would not have been gotten. We would not be able to harvest this revenue. So I am very glad, because I was in front of that argument, and I was supported by my chairman then, Committee on Finance. I was chairing Committee on Appropriations. He was chairman of Committee on Finance, and we argued Unfortunately, those that were there, were around, were not there, but one of them is here. And he was the forefront of that argument. The DG Budget Office. No, we can't realize this. They are not realizable. But now they've been realized. So, over to you, Chairman Committee on Finance. You need to do more work. Look at loopholes, leakages that are there, revenue that can be, well, of course, the executive is not perfect. They are not perfect. They may not be able to see certain revenue items. So it's left for you to go around, check, use your own, your own capability to make sure that those revenues that the state is not able to see, you should be able to see them, so that we can invest them and we'll be able to utilize them for the development of our country. Over to you, Chairman Committee on Finance. Thank you very much.
The area I want to actually make a comment is on the assets. Because if we are going to place our assets as one of those bases for getting more funding, then we must also take a statistics of national assets that we have, which at the moment, I don't think it exists. You'll see most of the GOEs having their own assets and keeping them as if it's owned by them. But it's part of federal government assets. So there will be need for us to harmonize and get a national registry for assets. And secondly, again, when you look at the way revenues have been collected by most of the MDAs, where an MDA will collect revenue in October 2022 and still keep that revenue until November 2023 to present it in his books as part of revenue he generated. I think that's another area that we are going to seriously look at and make a legislation. And here, the point of single window, I think is most appropriate for us to adopt for all GOEs and revenue generating agencies, so that government will have to block more of the leakages that we have today. By the time we have a single window where everything, by the press of a button, you'll be able to know how much you've generated in January, in December, or in November, anytime, just the press of the button, you can get that, and I think we'll be able to make a headway.
We are not where we want to be, and to get to where we want to be, we need to make haste quickly. And luckily, all the ingredients are in place. A bold, courageous leader who has a great world view, and a National Assembly that has the experience, and his team that are ready to work together. Of the 10 countries, 10 most populous countries in the world, we have the lowest budget. So that illustrates how much haste and how much cooperation. So not surprisingly, we do not have enough, particularly on the budget, to fund our priorities. Our budget is under $40 billion. The closest country to us, Pakistan, with similar population, is at 50 billion. Indonesia is 214 billion. Brazil is about 700 billion US dollars. Those, I believe, are contrasting issues. But of course, we cannot cry over spilled milk. Our president has made it very clear that we are not lamenting, but it just illustrates how much synergy we need to form and move ahead quickly. And certainly we will move ahead quickly. In terms of revenue to GDP, it has been mentioned it is under 10%, but the second lowest in the world. And the target is to take it to at least 18% in the next 4 years. But already the budget, and Professor Ayotte Riva has said a lot, the Deputy Senate President have been through, and the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, is a commendable start. We have borrowed a leaf from what President instructed his ministers. We have literally drawn water from a dry well, because we have a budget that, in spite of the challenges, has a lower deficit than the 2023 budget, 3.88% of of GDP as opposed to 6.1. It's a significant achievement, and investors are paying attention to it.
Nigeria's fiscal space is exhausted, and the solution, as you probably heard earlier today, is that we have to focus on the concessional funding, the cheaper funding, the even free funding, and climate financing is the way. The deadlines and the targets are being missed. Nobody thinks that the 1.5 degrees limit on global warming will be met. They believe that the world will go higher in terms of the climate change. The outcome that is targeted will not be met, but still there has to be a battle to limit the damage. What that means is that there's an estimated $1.1 trillion per annum to be spent on climate change. Just yesterday, Dubai, UAE announced $30 billion for climate action. Another $1.5 billion was announced by another grouping. And what that means is that as we look to fund the 7.5 trillion budget this year, our first port of call must be the cheapest and the most concessionary financing, including climate financing. We ourselves, 3 days ago, we signed a 100 million euro direct investment, foreign direct investment, equity investment for reforestation in Cross River State, reforestation of the mangrove forest. And we have to look and search for as many of these types of transactions as possible. And of course, even our own budget indicates that there is room for privatization. There is room for maximizing our own assets without borrowing.
I think the strength of this budget is that the assumptions are very, very clear. 1.7 million barrels at $70. I also look at the numbers on the inflation. 21% for 2024, and 2025 we're talking of 20% inflation rate, and the hope is that by 2026 we lower it to 18%. I would like to call on the National Assembly to really be a bit more ambitious, Mr. Chairman, to make sure that we don't wait until 2026 to lower inflation rate to 18%. In fact, it should be next year as much as possible, because inflation erodes income and is taking toll on the cost of living. I'm happy the Minister of Finance is here as well as budget. Then I was also happy that the Minister of Planning pointed this out, that we need to be more ambitious in terms of our budgeting. If Brazil is budgeting $700 billion, with lesser population, it's highly commendable that we have raised the budget to 27 trillion naira from 18 trillion last year. Or as it has been disaggregated, it was about $40 billion. So budget per capita for 250 million people is still very low. And that's why I think all stakeholders should support the ambition of President Bola Tinubu, to talk of $1 trillion economy, in the next 2 or 3 years. But to do so, we need to raise the revenue. I agree with that, and I agree with Minister.
We have decided to do our own, and that is to give you all the support to make this 2024 budget, which is the first for this government to succeed. It is the first step that matters, and the bulk of it depends on the executive. We, the legislators, for the first time now, have changed our rules to process this budget within
The time of, I think, 2 weeks, according to our chairman, and that is before the end of this month. So we are assuring you that this budget will be ready for you to implement, inshallah, by the end of the month. So the ball is in your court. The problem, I would have preferred that at the end of the year we come and do this clapping. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, and I wish you safe journey back to your respective destinations.
We now move on to some other activities at the National Assembly within the week. Budget defense sessions were major events at both Senate and the House, side-by-side inaugural meetings of standing committees. We begin with the Senate, where Committee on Public Account declared wanted management of the Nigeria Ports Authority (NPA) over revenue generation and remittance. Chairman of the committee, Senator Aliyu Wadada, also at the session ordered the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) to remit sum of 62.2 billion naira to the Federation account.
Customs Service is required to, 1, account for the unremitted sum of 62 billion 242 million 980,006 naira 87 kobo. 2, remit the sum of 62 billion 242 million 980,006 naira 87 kobo to the Federation account, forwarding evidence of remittance to Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly. And 3, otherwise, apply sanction relating to failure to collect and account for government revenue in paragraph 3112 of the Financial Regulations. That is the first issue, sir.
So by extension, no response from you based on the literature before us. But you are physically seated before us now. What have you got to say?
Country Nigeria of Customs said should be quickly attended to. And that is why in the documents we have before us, which copies have been made available to the honorable distinguished members, we have responses in the documents we have before us, sir. Of revenue into the Federation account for the year 2017 with the sum.
Hold on.
Okay. 1. Under remittance of revenue into the Federation account for the year 2017. 62 billion 242 million 980,006 naira 87 kobo. We said the Federation account levies include CET, wheat flour levy, wheat grain levy, brown rice levy, textile levy, overdue cargo levy, wine levy, and cigarette levy, of which only 5 are actively active, namely the CET, that's common external tariff, wheat flour levy, wheat grain levy, rice levy, and cigarette levy. Out of this, only CET is captured as a Federation account item by Central Bank of Nigeria, while others are classified as non-Federation account items. We said furthermore, the reasons for the differences are as a result of system glitches, as multiple transactions are being carried out daily, cut-off time of various banks, etc., which have been transferred to the next accounting month or year, as the case may be. Mr. Chairman, sir, and the distinguished senators, I wish to add at this juncture that Nigeria Customs Service is one of the institutions that started the Treasury Single Account System. Customs Service does not have an account where we collect revenue. Revenue payable to the government, either into the Federation or non-Federation accounts, are paid through designated banks, and these banks are the ones that do remittances to the central bank. So the issue of under remittance or non-remittance by Nigeria Customs Service cannot even come up because we do not collect revenue. What we do is people do declaration, they go to the accredited banks, make payments. It is the bank and the central bank that do the issue of remittance. And I want to add further that because of some of this observation of probably under remittance or non-remittance being observed, the Nigeria Customs Service has started embarking on the quarterly reconciliation outing, where all the banks are being called upon to come and reconcile their collection and remittances to the central bank, and where there are differences, actions are taken. Thank you, sir.
An order of authority, which is actually good enough for this committee to listen to. But you have not in any way attempted to answer the query raised and coming. You have not in any way attempt to answer the questions raised. What do I mean by that? In your reply, sir, look at the query as canvassed and look at the replies as delivered. And part of the reply, which I will quote you, that the Federation account levies include CTC and thereabout and thereabout and thereabout. And on your second page, you see reason for the differences as a result of system glitches, as multiple transactions have been carried out daily, cut-off time for various banks, etc., which have been transferred to the next accounting month or year, as the case may be. If it is an accounting procedure, there should not be glitches. There should be a very transparent demarcation as to this 62.2 billion. We should have seen clearly how they were transferred in. This is your line of defense. But to subsume everything on glitches, and then you haven't also make any attempt to say cut-off time for various banks. Which banks? What are the cut-off? How many of them? What amount for each bank? These are things that are specific in nature, that if you add them up, we must make sure that it resembles, or it is like 62.2 billion. That will give the Auditor General and the committee a substantial satisfaction that this particular query is answered. Secondly, and very importantly, this happened almost 7 years ago. But because government is a continuum, you probably was not there. No, probably you are not there, because I know the custom formation. But custom, you are not there, but that does not mean you are not answerable to what happened, because you hate the organization. So when you raise some of this, the answer is very clear, but the query, the reply, is diluted. In my opinion, you have not answered this particular query. But just reserve your comments so that colleagues will then you add them up.
Mr. Chairman, the second thing I want to say here is this. It's very, very common in public sector. For somebody who has also been the head of a revenue collecting agency, it's very, very common. You did explain that the money does not come to Nigerian customs. It goes directly to CBN. It simply means that you tell them where the amount, and they pay to the designated bank who now remit to CBN. Mr. Chairman, what usually happens is between the collecting banks and CBN, that's where the fraud is. And you need, as an organization, you need to be really, really vigilant to track your collections. Otherwise, people pay randomly from everywhere. And once the bank understands that you are not able to track it, they will keep that money. You keep that money. So after you have answered, Mr. Chairman, I think that the banks, the collecting banks, need to be invited for the reconciliation of this difference. Please, very, very important. That's the only way we can deal with it. A lot of government money is lost in this process. A lot.
Even private money.
A huge private money, you can track it. You might, because you don't have that kind of money. But for government, a lot is going in between the banks and CBN. You just need a proper reconciliation.
He mentioned reconciliation. And in the explanation given to us
today, we were told that the difference occurs because of timing differences. That is, receipts being recorded in one period instead of the next, or the next period instead of the current period. But that should also mean that for you to identify the cause, you've identified the items. And since it is a timing difference, the payments should have been remitted within 1 or 2 months thereafter. And all these accounts should in fact be accounts that are subject to monthly reconciliation so that the differences are being tracked on a regular basis. So for us to see 62 billion that has not been tracked is of great concern. What it tells me is that the system of regular reconciliations is not being followed.
At the Green Chamber, similar session with the House Committee on Financial Crimes had the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, seeking upward review of its capital allocation to 25 billion naira in the 2024 budget. Chairman of the Commission, Mr. Ola Olukayode, made a presentation also projecting sum of 37.074 billion naira as salaries and allowances expenditure in the coming fiscal year 2024. Chairman of the committee, Mr. Ginger Obinna, responded, reserving that financial crimes pose a significant threat to the nation's economic stability and progress, and said the committee is ready to tackle those challenges.
You don't have, you have completed all the ongoing projects. Why the 60% reduction from what we had in 2023 to what we are having in 2024? I want to know if all the ongoing projects are already completed. I want to know the reason why this reduction. If you look at it, in 2023, you have 2,530,707,086.00. Now in 2024, you have 1,241,237,267.00. A difference of 1,200 and something, 80-something million thereabouts. So this is a very big shift from what you had in 2023.
We are going to work in collaboration with the committee. The job of the committee is to oversight, the implementation of this budget as well. Step by step, point by point, monthly basis, quarterly basis, we have put mechanism in place to ensure that if we give you the opportunity to have your approval for our total proposal, we also want to confirm that it will be implemented to the last couple, provided we have full releases for the money we are proposing, for the budget we are proposing. And the issue of non-release of capital in 2023, as I said earlier, that the few capital projects that we implemented in 2023, which we are still implementing, they were not executed out of the release that was given us under the 2023 capital goals. The capital projects executed in 2023 were the 2022 capital rollover to 2023.
Well, Budget Office already approved total sum of 43.109 billion naira for the Commission in 2024. Out of this, 1.241 billion naira is for capital expenditure, 37.074 billion naira is for personnel cost, and 4.794 billion naira is for overhead cost. We now take one of the inaugural sessions at the House. Specifically, we bring excerpts from the inaugural meeting of House Committee on FCT Area Councils and Ancillary Matters. The chairman, Mr. Frederick Agbedi, and all members agreed the area councils need urgent developmental intervention and that the committee is set out to do.
It is again another responsibility bestowed on us to further serve our nation, particularly the Federal Capital Territory Area Councils, the people whose welfare is paramount in the discharge of our duties. To the Honorable Minister and other critical stakeholders, I ask for your support and cooperation, for without it, running this committee will be like an uphill task. Like a machine, we are all components and must work together for the success of this committee and the betterment of the Federal Capital Territory Area Councils. Therefore, we shall pay attention to all the sectors under our mandate, particularly agriculture, cultural festivals, resettlement schemes, satellite town development and responsibilities as it concerns the indigents and residents, chieftaincy development in the area councils, improved revenue drive, inter-house sports in schools to identify and develop talents, as well as education and health development. In all, as a committee, we shall take our oversight functions seriously to improve service delivery to the people.
The area councils and the FCT, they need the attention of every legislature. I have been in FCT for the last 30 years. The area councils are left behind. They need to catch up with the development of the FCT. They are truly left behind. So we need to do everything possible to see that the area council catch up with the development phase of the FCT. It will be regrettable if a number of us will go through the area councils. If you travel through the area councils, travel from here up to Rubochi, you will shed tears. That, is it the FCT? Is it really the FCT that is generating second revenue platform in the country? That our area councils are like this. So we have a daunting task.
FCT is a state governed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that's supposed to be a pace-setter state in comparison to other states of the Federation. Our satellite towns is nothing to talk about. There is nothing in our satellite towns. All the roads are dilapidated. If you go to places like Kubwa, Nyanya, Lupe was allocated for more than 30-something years today. There is no infrastructure there in Lupe. So FCT needs help. And I am begging my colleagues to support FCT new administration to achieve for the people of FCT. Finally, the Department of the Resettlement and Compensation is more or less a redundant department as far as I'm concerned in FCT. I have not seen anything much done on that department for such a long time. And these are some of the issues we are having. But I know that with the quality of the chairman and the leadership we have in the House, that we are going to see a renewed hope, just like the President.
The Minister of State for the FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmood, was at the session accompanied by the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Adeshola Olushade, and other top officials of the FCTA. She has confidence in the committee's ability to fast-track repair of all identified loopholes in the area councils.
I'm certain that this committee will typically perform functions related to the administration, development, and coordination of activities in the area councils within FCT. This may include, but not limited to, oversee local governance, infrastructure development, and addressing ancillary issues that will impact on the overall well-being of the resident of the territory. As it has been mentioned, there are so many things that are related to area councils, so many problems and challenges, that with this kind of a powerful committee that we have and the caliber of the members in this committee, including two of our powerful representatives from these 6 area councils, and also with the FCTA administration and other stakeholders, will work together towards development and betterment of residents of the territory and also visitors alike. So on this note, the FCT administration will continue to support the committee members in whichever we can, with all our hand on deck in discharging your constitutional oversight functions.
That's the program for today. Many thanks for sticking around till Friday next week at 8 p.m. Kindly check out all editions of The Maze on our YouTube channel, ASO Radio and Television. Like our page and please subscribe. I am Rosemary UKOKO-TEGA.